We are back with another episode of Triggered AF the podcast. How you doing, Alicia?
I am good. I never tell you, but I love when you say Trigger Day After Podcast.
It's like obviously that's what you listen to. What if you clicked on another podcast and you thought that's what it was? I just like to remind you that's what you're listening to in case you clicked on the wrong thing. I'm sure that happens.
Hey, listen, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it.
No, but we are back with a really powerful episode. I think a very powerful topic, I should say, because it is so easy to be hard on ourselves and to get into a space where we feel like we're not worthy of more because of what's not the best about us, right? Like our areas of opportunity, if you will, some of our traits that we may have inherited that we're not as proud of. So today we want to talk a little bit about our flaws and all and just keep it real about what the work really looks like when you're trying to grow and you're trying to evolve, or you're trying to completely remove traits from your personality that are so hardwired that it almost feels impossible. Because I know I got plenty of those. I don't know how much time we have, because I think I might need just a whole hour for my flaws, but I'm gonna try to
Keep it together.
I'm gonna try to narrow it down to the ones that I feel will resonate the most. But I definitely think that, especially if you are successful or you are doing well on a grand scale, it's very important to have conversations about what may not be going so well.
Yeah.
You can give more of a full picture as to what your existence actually looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, too, it's recognizing and understanding that it does not have to be perfect in order for you to still fully love yourself, in order for you to still fully go after what you believe you want, or what you believe you were created to experience. You having flaws is not an indicator that you are not worthy.
Yeah.
And I think way too many of us get confused about okay, well, I don't deserve this because I'm not yet this. And it's like, no, that's not how this works.
So true. Yeah. Or you feel like because I've done this thing, because I've done that thing, I'm not good enough to be this other thing. I can't now start talking about this. I can't now step into these spaces because I did this thing or that thing. Like, I'm sure there's some women who like they can't be wise because they was hoeing for so long. That they just feel like they can't be anybody's wife. And that is just not true. I just want to put that. You might be an even better wife because of your whole background, okay? Because you know what men want, you have experience, you know what you're doing in the bedroom. I'm just saying, don't count yourself out, okay?
First
put
of all,
that PSA.
I did not know she was about to go there this early in the episode, y'all. I wasn't ready.
I just think we count ourselves out so much, but sometimes some of the things that are not the best about us can be reworked into positive things. We can use some of the experiences we may have gained from not being the better version of ourselves and reframe them into using that same trait and reworking it into something that's good.
Absolutely. I think too, though, honestly, if we keeping it a buck, we're gonna keep it on with your analogy. You see so much and so many times, especially anytime Sierra does anything at all, people go ham. Especially, I feel like it's the passport bros, or I'm gonna start calling them the podcast bros. The ones, they always say, why is it that women first have to get with a terrible person? You have a baby by this terrible person, and now you want a good man to come and save you. And it's like, first of all, humans get to evolve. That's just number one. Humans get to evolve. And number two, if it's not coming out of your pocket, it's not your time, it's not your marriage or your relationship, why are you so invested in it?
I know. We interrupted at the best part, but hear me out.
Dating should not be this hard. Let's be honest. We've all said it at least once that the dating pool has pee in it.
It has to. After dozens of dates, too many failed relationships, engagements, marriages, and even a divorce, we decided it was crucial that we find ways to be better at attracting the partners that we desire. So we did just that, and we created the Dating Well AF course.
It's specifically designed to show women how to date with intention and in alignment with their desired type of lifestyle and experience. The 5-module crash course developed by certified coaches Alechia and Dani provides practical tools to date well and live even better.
So I want you to register now for lifetime access to the Dating Well AF course at datingwellaf.com. You will tap all the way in to learn how to identify those self-sabotaging behaviors, discover new ways to date intentionally, and to nurture that healthy love.
Remember, one of the most important life decisions you will ever make is who you decide to make your partner. Make the choice well and visit datingwellaf.com.
Now, back to the episode.
And why don't you want to be that good man that comes to save the day? Like, what's wrong with being that man? Like, how noble and how amazing is that man to realize that someone is so hurt and so broken that they may have made poor decisions that doesn't align with who he sees her as and decides to step in and step up? Like, why is that something to be discouraged or made fun of if a man sees a broken woman and decides that he wants to help mend and heal her through her process as opposed to taking advantage of and manipulating her because why is that praise? Like, why is it praise to like run through girls and it's praise to like be this playboy, but it's not praise to be like a good man who steps up to the plate? Like, that is so ass backwards. I just don't understand.
Yeah. But many times though, because of the narrative that's being pushed out for whatever, aspect the narrative is, people are positioned that no, the moment you make certain mistakes or certain decisions, you are now no longer worthy of whatever this thing is. And here's the thing, people get to have their preferences. I am not at all saying that people can't have their preferences. Absolutely can. For me, a preference is to not have men who have gone to jail or had major experiences with domestic violence. That is a preference for me. Am I judging your past and what you've experienced? Absolutely, I am not. And also, what I'm saying is for me, that doesn't work because I was in abusive relationships. So am I saying you don't deserve someone to love you and help you and hold you and build a life with you? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it won't be me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So I don't speak on anybody who has chosen that they want to still be with someone who has had those experiences because they don't have my background. So for them, they can love the beast in that person. And I'm not saying they're the beast. I'm just referring to Beauty and the Beast. So, calm down, get those thumbs, put them down. I'm referring to Beauty and the Beast or even the Hulk, where they had that person who they loved so much that no matter what they were experiencing, no matter what level that they were at, they could easily be brought down by the person that they loved. For me, that would work.
I think that brings me to the thought of like, there was a debate about like, if you are a heterosexual woman, if you would be able to date a bisexual man or a man who has a past history of being with other men. I personally could not do that. But I don't think that those men who may like men and women, or they like non-binary, like whatever it is that they like, if they want to run the gamut of it, I don't think that you're not deserving of love. I just know that I personally cannot deal with that. I cannot walk into a room with a man. I know that he's looking at everybody in here. Chuck, it's hard enough. It's hard enough for me to know that, okay, like he's looking at maybe half the room of the woman in here, but we walk into a room and you might like anybody in here. I think men are wired differently. I think that they have a little more struggle with keeping and containing their private parts. I think that they are more ruled by their sexuality. So for me, I personally I'm not, you know what it is? I'm not secure enough in myself to be in a relationship with a man who likes the men and the woman and the everything in between. I just can't do it. I would like a little bit of a smaller pool for him to choose from, so that maybe he can make better decisions. But when he just could jump in the ocean and he will just take whatever he can get, no, I just don't want to do that.
And there is nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. That's not a phobia of any kind. It's just an actualization, a realization of who I am and what aligns with who I am. And that's why I feel like things that we kind of see as flaws sometimes are not necessarily flaws. It just may not work in the space that you're trying to put it. You're trying to do something or something that is maybe that doesn't work for that person may work for somebody else, and that is okay. But today we want to talk about actual things that we know are not the best traits that we have. And we want to kind of work through them with you guys right now together on this podcast, because it's probably something we're still working on. So a lot of times we're talking about the things that we have worked through and moved past. Today we want to talk more about the things that we are still kind of in the trenches with, because those are the things sometimes where you don't really know what the work looks like. A lot of times everyone's like, I'm working on it, but what does that mean?
Yeah. What does that mean? How do you know you're progressing? And then what happens when you revert? And then what is your solution? Right? Because let's just keep it a buck. Many times we revert. That man that we said we was gonna leave alone, or that person that we was like, oh, this their last chance, and then you find yourself 2 weeks later back in their bed. Man, what happens when you revert, and how do you recover? So that's going to be this conversation. I'm not going to tell y'all all my business, although it seems like I do. I was listening to a couple of our episodes and I was like, dang, I be real honest on here. I mean, real honest. I don't know how I feel about that. But I would say for me, one of what I believe is one of my biggest flaws is I have such a challenge trusting men to do what they say they're going to do. I can appear and come off as being hyper independent, which then emasculates them and doesn't get me what I ultimately want. Does that make sense? I know that was long.
No, I get it. It boils down to just hyper independence. Like, you are hyper independent. Like, if you don't do it, I'm gonna do it.
That's just that on that. Like, it's fine. You ain't do it. I was gonna take care of it anyway. Next item on the agenda.
I think a lot of Black women have that as a challenge. I think it's why we so easily emasculate men, is because we are so used to kind of having to figure it out. And there are so many factors that play into that, not to bash Black men, but there are systemic and institutions that are literally designed to keep Black men out of our homes, where we have to do these things and we have to figure out a way, so it's not that Black men are incapable. It's just there are a lot of things, I believe, working against them to make it easier, or to create environments for them to thrive and flourish in ways that we can kind of lean into our feminine. So I definitely don't think you're alone in your hyper independence. It's very difficult for us to submit after so many years of having to kind of figure it out and hold things down.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I was on a date with this guy who, y'all, I'm enjoying getting to know him. Right. So I was on a date with him and we were just talking, and I was just saying how, I really want to, move out of the country. I'm going to start with, a month a year until my daughter turns 18. And then I'm going to really peace out. And we were just talking, and he was like, what really does kind of make me a little bit sad. And I was like, well, what's that? And he was like, how America has hardened so many of our women that you feel that in order to be soft, you cannot be where you currently are, which is in the States, because you have to be so hard. And I was just like, yes. So if you're wondering, well, where's the flaw in what I said? The flaw is I can be so independent that I can emasculate those who I want to be taken care of by. That's the flaw. And I don't care what nobody say, that's a flaw. That's a flaw.
It is a flaw, especially if it's someone who wants to try, but they're not perfect. Yeah. And they are trying their hardest to be there and show up for you in every way that they have capacity to. And it may not be enough for you. So you still end up just like taking over and like taking the reins, like, okay, I got it, stupid move.
Yes.
I think it's hard for a lot of men, especially when they are trying to kind of redeem themselves in a lot of ways, or they are trying to be something that they did not see growing up. So they're trying to make their own blueprint and make their own way. I definitely think that it can cause a lot of headbutting when everybody's trying. We're in such a state as a community where we're all just trying to figure out this new normal. Yep. Like even the term soft life, what is that, for Black women? Like, what does that really look like other than luxurious vacations? Like, what does it mean to lean into a soft space? So I definitely can see that. I can see why you would call it a flaw or something you need to work on, because in order to be in a healthy relationship with somebody, there is going to have to be some kind of a give and take where you can kind of trust them to lead you. And that can be very hard.
It is, because I just be saying so many of them are so dumb, but you want to lead me. Lead me where exactly? How am I supposed to trust you and you can't lead? Like, you can't lead yourself, but you want me to lay down and allow you to lead because you were born with a penis? Yeah, okay. All right. You see, it came out. Y'all saw it.
I was gonna say, there it is. Right there.
You see, it just came out. We said we're going to work through this in person. So here's what I am doing, because we can't just tell you the flaws without also telling you what our solution is. So what I am doing on the date, the young man, he said I was a jaguar. Yes, he called me a jaguar. And it was quite hilarious because he then later called me a porcupine. But
how you go from a jaguar to a porcupine? How does that happen?
Because he said porcupines are super cute, but if you try them, they will basically attack by literally just taking what's in them and eviscerating you with their. Yes, it was. Y'all. It doesn't sound like it was a great date, but it really was a really great date. But one of the things that he did say is he was like, but I can tell that you've done a lot of work. He's like, because you're also very feminine, even though I can tell you are definitely a jaguar. He's like, you are a warrior. We just got to put you in the little red costume with Viola Davis and you go. He's like, but I can tell you've done a lot of work, because even though I can tell that life has tried to harden you, you're still soft. And so for me, what the work has looked like, and honestly, it made me feel so good, because that was our first date, y'all. And he was literally like telling me some of my business, and I ain't like that a whole lot, but that's neither here nor there. But one of the things that I do to help me with that is I find little things that I can trust them with and see how they do. Like, can you pick an actual place for us to have a real date? And I don't do coffee. I don't do smoothies. I actually just told a guy today, he's like, oh, we can have a coffee date. We absolutely cannot. I don't do coffee. Next item on the agenda. And I said it nicely, y'all. I'm saying it a little rough now because I could talk to y'all. We friends, tete to tete, head to head. We could do this thing. But to him, of course, I said it nicer. But for me, it's trusting them with little things and seeing how they do with little things, so that I can start to relax my very strong levels of move, stupid, I got this anyway.
So you kind of build the muscle to over time. You work the muscle to see like what you can't trust them with, as opposed to like dumping everything and hoping that they can figure it out. You kind of do little things. I mean, that's how you learn to build trust with yourself. So I mean, I could definitely see how that will be effective with a partner, is like trusting them with little things here and there, and just allowing them to prove themselves and allowing them to show up for you. So giving them the space to do it, you know, in ways that are comfortable enough for you to relax and let it happen.
Yeah.
Things that are not life-changing.
Yeah. Not any life-changing stuff. Not yet. And then if, let's say, they make a mistake at this stage in the game, I know people are like, oh, I don't do second chances. I don't do second chances in dating me. If we've been in a relationship, you cannot come back. It's a no-go for me. However, I do allow them 3 opportunities to prove to me that they cannot be trusted. I give you 3 whole opportunities. So I'll, and it's not oh, you stepped on my shoe, you can't be trusted. No, actual instances. And then once you've shown me 3 times that I can't put my faith in you, or you can't maintain your word, I fade into black, like Homer Simpson into the grass. I fade. So what about you, Dani?
Like I said, I don't know if we have a whole podcast episode, but one of the ones that came up recently that I was like, I keep feeling like I've gone past this and I've worked on it, but it needs more work. We got to take it back to the chop shop. I am a brat. I am a bratty human being. I am just a brat. I always have been. I don't recall a time in life where I haven't really been. I mask it really well. I can lean back and kind of just let people do things, but it is to my own internal detriment. Curving, bending, compromising, it's just not something I enjoy. It doesn't come easy to me. I'm a my way or the highway kind of girl in a lot of ways. Like I said, I can mask it and kind of give in, but for me, that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm giving in to you when I have to do things your way, especially if I feel like your way is not the best way. And I rarely feel that way, So being in a marriage, those things are very challenging for me because I just would like things to go my way. And it is very emotionally taxing for me when they don't go my way, which is why I say I'm a brat, because like I still sometimes want to stomp my feet and slam the door and throw a tantrum like a baby when things don't go my way. So recently, like I said, I mask it really well. And I've done some work, through it. Like some of the work that I've done around being bratty and wanting everything to go my way is being open to possibilities and people having other ways and better ways of doing things. Right.
Okay.
So humbling myself in the sense of realizing I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. And sometimes there is a better way or another way that could be just as productive, just as beautiful as the way I would do it.
Yeah.
And allowing people to show me that, like how you said, like with little things, like I allow that with small things, and then it allows me to kind of trust them, and to lean into their way of doing things. But just like asking a lot of questions until I feel comfortable. Like you know that about me. Like I ask a lot of questions. I'm very big on clarity.
Yeah.
The more clarity I have, and that's why I ask so many questions, is because the more clarity I have and the more I understand the direction you're trying to go, is the more comfortable I feel with letting you kind of maybe take the reins. And that's with anyone.
Yeah.
So I'm very bratty, and I feel very strongly when things don't go my way. And it really just like it hits me to the core. And sometimes I'm not very kind when things don't go my way, and I may be reactive. Recently, I had my baby sprinkle, and I used a different event planner that I did not want to use, but I ended up using anyways for lack of better judgment and not trusting myself. And he ended up being an absolute disaster, like I anticipated and intuitively knew he would be. And on the day of, there were a lot of things that didn't go the way. There were no cushions on my Shivari chair, so we were sitting on like hard ass plastic chairs. The base of the flowers were like, that cheap ass green foam you get from like Hobby Lobby to do flowers.
Yeah.
He had the green base showing, so the top of the flowers were too heavy for the base. At one point, they tipped over into the candles, and one caught on fire. It was just, it was just not fun. And by the time I come downstairs, like everything's already done and he's gone, and I have guests and all that stuff. And I was just not very warm to anyone for like at least 2 hours. And I think I cried, and I just had an attitude, and I was just pissed off. I was just honestly pissed off. And I didn't know how to stay in the moment of something so beautiful, which is people coming to celebrate me and the new life we're bringing. It took me a while to work through what was actually important in that moment versus what was pissing me off. And because, again, I'm a brat, I couldn't move for a while. And I just kept focusing on all the things I didn't like and all the things that went wrong and all the things that I knew were going to be an issue. And I didn't like this color. I just was focused on all the things that it was just magnified to me, because that's what happens when you're bratty. Things are magnified because you don't deal well with not having the control. It's really a control issue, I'm sure.
Okay.
So what I did to work through it in that moment was to switch my focus to the people that were there. How many people showed up to love on me and my new baby and my family. And that helped me to work through the moment, to get back to the present and just realize that it's such a blessing to have a tribe. It's such a blessing to have people who love you and care for you. And they don't care about your decorations. They don't care about like the things that you're so hyper focused on. So for me when it comes to me being bratty and when I'm having reactive bratty moments, what I try to do is focus on what really matters. And usually what really matters is what can calm me down and bring me back.
I love that.
Yeah, focusing on the things that, and also trying to always find the lesson, right? Like, what am I supposed to learn from this? I think if you can always ask yourself that question in situations that are uncomfortable or unpleasant for you, it is much easier to move through it, because now you're searching for a solution while you're searching for the answer as to, okay, what can I gain? What can I take from this? And I think what it reminded me was to go with my gut and trust my intuition, regardless of how it's going to look, regardless of what anyone's going to say, because I know that I'm the one that's going to have to live with the consequences of it not going the way that I want it to go. And it's important it's important. Events and things like that are something that I do. I love them. I love throwing parties. I love throwing gatherings. So it really means a lot to me for it to be something curated and beautiful and well thought out. So it's like a reflection of me to my, so I take it really personally when it goes awry. So I just have to remind myself that, you know what, all that matters is the people who are here, my healthy self, my healthy family, my healthy baby. And, you know, I just sent him a nasty text message the next day and that made me feel better. And that was it.
First of all,
oh shit, we could have talked about it. He would answer the phone. So I just got it off my chest and let it go. You know,
y'all, the reason I paused is because I just knew she was going to tell me something positive at the end. She said, "No, just send him a nasty text message." And that was the brat coming out.
She came back for a little encore and then she's gone. She's back.
It's okay because we saw mine live and live in color. Like, it's okay. Again, the reason this episode is called Flaws and All, because what we want you to realize and understand is nobody's perfect. So trying to pretend or hope or even aspire to perfection is pointless. However, what you can have is progress, and understand that even if that progress is slow progress, it is still progress. Yeah. And you are still absolutely worthy of what you desire. And so one of, I would say, my greatest flaws is I can be super. When I say super, ask Dani or ask anyone who's ever dated me, I can be super anal and particular. Dear God. Like, it can be borderline aggravating because I am so anal, and I want things to be a particular way. I want to eat a certain way. I want to cook in certain cookware. Like, I want to experience certain things. And if it is, and I don't say it's bratty because I'm not bratty, but I am very anal in that, no, this is how it needs to be done.
Can you be anal without being a little bratty?
I feel like we could add a little bit of bratty in there. We could add a little bit of bratty.
I'm always so surprised how well we get along with both of us being very particular, but I think it's because maybe we're particular about different things.
Yes, I think so. We're particular about different things, but I am super anal.
But I don't see being particular or anal as a flaw. Why do you see it as a flaw?
So here's why I say my particular brand of anality. I like that. I think I made that up. I don't know if it's a word, but I'm going to Google it later. But my particular brand of anality and particularness, it can be off-putting because I can be aggressive in my desire to have it the way I said I wanted it. And that can be off-putting to people. And anytime a person's personality or the way they said it is not going to be received, the impact or the change that I am desiring will not be felt. I will not be heard because I have already, a brother once offended is harder to be won than a strong city. I know another scripture. Don't laugh at me, Dani. And also, once you've,
okay, Bishop.
Never. I know they say never, but absolutely not. I curse, and I don't think they want that on anybody's pulpit. And also, once you have offended someone, you have kind of broken not only the trust, but the relationship once they've been offended, especially to the level at which I can offend people. And like I said, it's so funny because on that first date, he was like, "You seem like you could literally rip someone to shreds using your words without ever cursing or raising your voice." That was the part of the conversation that I didn't like, that he was telling my business, because that is actually very true. I know how to take words and use them in ways that cut so deep that it really does hurt you. And that's why I say it's a flaw, because once I'm frustrated, because I'm so anal and because I'm so particular, once I'm frustrated, I can use my words to hurt people. And that's not good. That's not good.
Well, we both have that flaw. I think that's what I was going to say was my next flaw is, but in a different way though. Yeah. Mine is more so like I get cold and sometimes like you have to agree. Okay.
My bad.
I get really cold and detached, and sometimes it makes me, I'm sure it makes me come off as insensitive or overly like so logical with like what I'm saying, and it's such as a matter of fact that I think it becomes hurtful. I don't really intend to be, so that's why I think it's a flaw, because it's something I don't feel like I have enough control over to know when I'm doing it. And that to me is like one of the baseline definitions of what a flaw is. It's something that you're like not as aware of, and even if you are aware, you don't really know how to manage it.
Yeah.
And I sometimes just don't really know how to gauge when I'm doing that. I only really know from feedback. Like like in the moment, I'm not intentionally trying to be that way, but it's just how my brain works.
Hmm.
So sometimes I realize, especially culturally, um, it just doesn't translate the same. And people get offended or their feelings get hurt or they feel like I'm a certain way. But it's like I just don't really realize that it's happening. So that's one of the things I don't even know what the work around would be because I'm so I think still unaware of when it's happening. And some those that to me is frustrating because when you get the feedback and you don't really know what to do about it, what do
Yeah.
you do?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. For me, so now I have an internal gauge, um, which is how I work through it, right? So I understand that I am anal and I believe in operating in excellence in all things. And I also have come to the understanding that I cannot expect or require people to be me because that's not fair.
Yeah, that's a
What
good
they
one.
bring to the table is something different than what I'm able to bring to the table because sometimes I'm focused so much on what I want it to be that I'm not realizing what it actually is, and it may be better. And if it is not better, then I can say, hey, this doesn't align with me for what my vision is, and this is how I would like for us to see or to do things moving forward. Now, usually this is in business. However, it does seep into my personal life when it comes to certain types of experiences, like dating or like traveling. No, I don't want to travel certain ways. No, I'm not willing to just, oh, well, let's just get there. No, I'm not willing to do that. No, thank you. I'd rather not if it means that the experience has to be minimized. No. And that strong, you said it earlier when I was just saying, no, I'm not doing certain things. You were like, you are really, once you decide, that is it. And for me, that really is what it is. So because I now have an internal kind of like alarm to where when I feel myself getting hot on the inside, because the level at which I wanted it to be delivered is not being delivered at that way, I ask myself, is it worth it me responding in the initial way that I want to respond? And will that response give me the result that I want? If
Mm.
the answer is no, then what I will do, because it still has to get out of me because I am who I am, I will open a note and I will write an entire paragraph, sometimes 5, to get all of my frustrations out. And then I will respond to that person, whether it's a call or whether it's a text or whether it's an email. But I'll allow myself and give myself the space to still release because I don't do so well when I keep it pent up.
Yeah, I don't either. Is that a flaw? I didn't know that was a flaw. That's a flaw to be like that. I thought
If
that
it
was
hurts other people and it takes away
yeah,
from what you want your impact to be, yes, a little bit of a flaw dog.
yeah. I have some of that too, for sure. Yeah, I. You're always just like, did you say that? Like, please don't
Because
say.
I'd be surprised, y'all. The things that come out of her
She'll
mouth.
be like, did you actually say it like that, or did you say? I'm like, yeah. What was wrong with saying it like that? So it's like I'm trying. I think what I'm trying to do, and because I'm still working through it, it's not going to sound as solid. But I think what I'm trying to do is I'm always trying to find the best way to say things based on the feedback that I've gotten. So, like, I get feedback and I try to use that feedback as opposed to getting like offended or
Yeah.
as opposed to internalizing it too much. I try to say, like, okay, when I said this to someone before, that didn't go over so well. So this time I'm going to try a different approach. And I think one
Yeah.
of the ways to kind of move through your flaws is being okay with messing up while you're trying to fix it. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to go from flawed to perfect overnight, right? Like none of us are ever going to be perfect, but flawed to even better is going to be a process. And you do have to give yourself grace and patience with trying to figure out what this better version of you looks like. And that version is still going to mess up. So don't identify too strongly with being this flawless person who doesn't mess up and doesn't offend and doesn't hurt people's feelings. When you identify too much with that healed version of yourself, it makes it very difficult to move and to react and to respond to things appropriately because now you feel like you always have to respond as this super woke, super highly evolved human being who
Yep.
doesn't have any flaws, who doesn't fuck up, who doesn't say the wrong thing, who doesn't hurt people's feelings. I had to release that because I went from one extreme to the other on my journey. Like I went from someone who might say some bullshit to you to somebody who was always saying the right thing and always like so politically correct. But then I felt like I wasn't being true to myself. And then I started feeling like I was getting taken advantage of, which just made me angry. And then I ended up lashing out whenever I got angry. Like it went from like, oh, I'm like this person who's always going to be nice to you, to like, you push the wrong button. I'm going from 0 to 100 in 5 seconds.
Real.
Where if I just keep cruising at 40 to 50, that works for me. You know, just finding better words and finding words that are less icy or less of a dagger to communicate to people, especially if I'm irritated. I feel like the more I do that is the more I find that I'm communicating more effectively with the people I care about, but I'm getting my point across in a way that's more effective, which if that's the goal, then you have to work on yourself and you have to try to figure out what the best ways are if you want a certain result. Like that's what I started thinking about. Like, am I really just trying to hurt your feelings or am I trying to move us forward? What's the goal here?
Ooh, I think if y'all take nothing else from this conversation, always ask yourself, just take inventory right quick. What do I consider flaws? And to me, a flaw, and you may define it differently. So however you define it is what works for you. Again, we are not into telling you this is how it has to be. No, this is what it is for us. Whatever you resonate with, chew the meat, spit out the bones. But figure out, hey, what are the things about my personality or my personality type that cause issues or dissension or that just causes, fracturing.
And telling yourself the truth when you do that.
Tell the truth. Okay. We just told some of our truth. So I need you to tell yourself the truth. You don't got to get on a podcast and say it, but you do need to tell yourself whatever that truth is. Tell yourself the truth and then identify, hey, what are some steps that I can take to be better at this? Again, perfection is not the goal. It is really not about perfection. It is solely about making sure that you are putting yourself in a position to progress.
And don't be afraid to ask people around you for feedback. Like the other day, something happened with my husband and he reacted a certain way. And I was just like, what do you want me to do? Like, what would you prefer my reaction be in this situation? Like, how would you feel better about this if what are you looking for? And I think, like I said, for me, asking questions is just how I get through things. I don't care who I'm annoying. You'd rather me annoy you than cuss you out. So let's try to find, you have to pick the lesser of two evils. Ask questions, ask for clarity, ask for feedback from people who love you and care about you. Ask how the things you may say or do affect them and impact them, because most of us are decent people with good hearts who just are trying to figure out life, and we're fumbling through and we're messing up. And sometimes if we don't really have that mirror back to us to let us know like, hey, that wasn't cool, or hey, I really didn't appreciate that, it's very difficult to always be as accountable to yourself, without an accountability partner or two. So I definitely think one of the main things with working through your flaws and still loving yourself through them is realizing that you are not the flaw. It's just like a little piece of you that you have the right to remove and eradicate from your body, from your personality. And you can choose to be something else every single day until that's just who you are now. It's always a choice. How you're reacting, how you're doing things is something that you're deciding, sometimes unknowingly. So the more self-aware you are and the more in tune you are with who you're trying to become, is it easier it'll be to kind of identify it and be like, okay, now what are the next steps to removing this? Or what are the next steps to being better? Whether that's going to therapy and trying to figure it out, whether it's, like I said, asking or phoning a friend to see, whether it's finding a book about it, whatever it is, just believe that it doesn't have to stay that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Understand you can identify and navigate through your flaws while still understanding at the end of the day, you are still worthy of the best that life has to offer. And that was our sole goal in this particular conversation, is to not only highlight, hey, these are our flaws, this is how we're working through them. And then this is what we've done once we have, slid back in and then slide back out. So we hope you have gained from this. Remember, you can always stay connected with me at Alechia Reese, Alechia, Reese, Reese. Dani, where can we stay connected with you?
You can stay connected with me at the Dani Bordeaux. Bordeaux is BOURDEAU. You can stay connected with the podcast at Triggered AFPC on Instagram. You can go to triggeredafpodcast.com to be up on all the latest. And if you really want to be up on all the latest and greatest for our upcoming events, which we have something in the works for you guys coming in 2024 spring, we need you guys to go to triggeredafevents.com so that you can be in the know. You can be the first for pre-sales and tickets and all the things. So we want to thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. We hope it helps somebody work through some of their challenges, right? You are still lovable, flaws and all. And we need you to share this with a friend, share this with somebody who you think might need a little work. And maybe this will jumpstart that for them, the conversation for feedback. We hope you guys enjoyed. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.